Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Andrea Laplante. I'm a National Marketing Director with the Juice Plus Company. I am also a certified health coach with the Dr. Sears Wellness Institute. I'm a mom of 3 active kids, and I absolutely am so excited about sharing with you tonight because I'm very passionate about sustainability. As you can see, the title of this presentation is Tower Gardens and Sustainability Matters. And I would love to start with the other day I was having a conversation with my youngest child, my son Drew, point of us getting older if there's no earth left for us to sustain us as we get older. And I thought, you know what? They're listening, they're watching, they understand what's going on. And I've been talking to my kids and others about what's going on in our future and how we have a solution. And I'm one of those people, as all of you are here on this call, that want to learn more about Tower Gardens and what it can do for us personally, but also around the globe, sustainability-wise. So I was just listening to a podcast today that was talking about how seeds are really the lifeline of human existence. And there are 3 companies that are chemical companies that own really 68% of the seeds that we have around in this country. And what I love about what we do here is that we foster independence with local farmers, and then we put the power back in individuals' hands. And one of the ways that we do this is through the Tower Garden. And I just want to read to you this. This is a great book called Eat Dirt. I just want to read to you one passage in it just to give you an idea of what's going on. Spinach lost 48% of its folate and carotenoids after only 4 days at room temperature or 8 days in a refrigerator. 15 and 77% of their vitamin C content within a week after being picked. Dozens of other nutrients are quickly lost during transport and storage of fresh fruits and vegetables because they are so sensitive to air, light, and heat. There's a reason why we call produce perishable. So as this book goes on, if you want to read more on your own, I'd just like to talk a little bit about the decreasing quality of our soil. And basically what's happening is that foods like fruits, vegetables, and grains are now being raised on millions of acres of land that no longer contain enough certain needed nutrients. So we're not being nourished and it's starving us, no matter how much we eat of them. And one of the things that's happening is the agricultural practices and the health of our soil is getting worse. Our soil today has 85% fewer minerals than it contained 100 years ago. If farmers don't actively replenish those lost nutrients, the mineral content of our food will continue to decline. Some estimate that only 48 years of nutrient-rich topsoil remains. And historically, in the past, entire civilizations have died off when their topsoil was depleted of nutrients. Now step in the Tower Garden. I'm a solutions girl, so I love the fact that we have a positive solution to an ongoing problem of soil depletion and sustainability. I'm just going to take us to the next slide here. This is Tim Blank. He's the creator of the Tower Garden. He is the mastermind behind the exhibit, The Future Growing in Epcot. So it was called The Land exhibit at Epcot. If you haven't been to it and you get to Disney, just go check it out. You're going to get in a little boat and be on this little tour of all of these plants that are growing phenomenally. And people would say to him, well, how can I grow produce like this? And he decided to leave Disney, which was huge, and create the Tower Garden, which is a brilliant, sustainable aeroponic growing system to allow people the ability to take control back of their health and their growing. The Tower Garden is the future of urban gardening. There's no dirt, so we don't have to worry about soil depletion. So we're actually giving Mother Nature a hug. 90% less water. It's actually 98% less water. NASA did a study on that. 90% less space. So it's really only 3 feet of space. I'm sitting here looking at mine in my office, which is in the corner of my office, and 100% success. So what's a Tower Garden worth? When you think about how much organic produce is, or any produce for that matter, and you want to actually buy quality produce, right? So you want to make sure your produce has nutrients in it that your family is going to be able to absorb and sustain. When we think about the future of what's happened to our food supply, because it's so depleted, part of that is through the chain that it's taken, the planes, the trains, the automobiles, and the fact that it's been picked before it's ripe so that it's alive and it's not decayed by the time people get it. So when you start putting those pieces together and you understand, after buying my tower garden, it replenished itself and financially for me within 6 months, because I wasn't throwing away produce. I was growing what I wanted to grow. I was eating what I was growing. I had a variety and I could grow year round. So this is just a look for you to get an idea of what it would cost. There are 4 ways Tower Garden is an earth-friendly choice, and this is where the sustainability component comes in. It leaves a smaller carbon footprint, which is really important. Store-bought produce, you have to drive to the store, and there are a lot of planes, trains, automobiles, and transportation processes for the food to get there. With the Tower Garden, you set it up, you plug it in, and you pick it and bring it to the table. So you're not having to utilize any of that energy. You're just picking your produce, eating it, or it's tower to table. It uses only 10% of the land and water of traditional farming. And I love the visual image of a ½ acre of Tower Gardens equates to 30 acres of land and produce. And you're not depleting the soil or actually taking up space in the air vertically. It recycles 100% of the nutrients in the water, which also reduces need for pesticides and herbicides. So you don't have to worry about the contaminant piece. This is a great view of what a tower garden looks like from week 1 to week 2 to week 3. As you can see, the growing is much faster, and of course you can pick what you want to grow. And one of the things that the human body works so well with is a variety of plant nutrients in the body. So you have a chance to grow a wide variety of plants year long. Just giving you some images of what it looks like in various areas around the world and how you can grow different produce. Well, people have asked, well, how do you grow, and how does it grow if it doesn't have soil? If you look at this picture and this image on the right, you'll see what's called rock wool, and it's made from volcanic ash. So you actually take your seed and you input it into your rock wool, the seeds of whatever it is that you choose, and you place that in there with a little vermiculite, and you put some water on it, place it in the sun or underneath the grow lights in your tower in home, and the seeds will grow to plant, and then you place them in the tower garden. The timer will kick on, the nutrient solution will drain over the roots, and the air will dry it out as well. So it's air and water, which is called an aeroponic garden. Now here's some visuals of how the tower garden can be displayed in homes across the globe. Here's an example of having towers on your back deck, more than one, multiple towers. And people have said to me in the past, well, do you have to worry about pests if they're outside? And what I've known to be true is because it's on a timer and the water kicks on, whether it's in your home or outside of your home, your cats and your dogs typically stay away, and anything outside is afraid of the noise. This is a beautiful example of what it looks like to be an urban farmer. So this is somebody in their apartment, whether it's a roof deck or you can look across the way and see buildings and how high up this is. This is just on someone's patio or deck in an apartment building in a city. And you can continue to grow your own greens outside on the patio. And then I've heard of someone who brought theirs into their closet, threw grow lights on them for the winter, and they were able to sustain and nourish themselves by growing their own greens year round in the city. The mindful gardener. Now, I just love this image. This was in Better Homes and Gardens a few years ago. And when we talk about gardening and social responsibility, the Tower Gardens just check all those boxes. So it's not only aesthetically beautiful, but it's really doing something for the earth. I love this image too, because if you've ever been, and I'm sure everybody on this call has been to some type of professional athletic event, and to be able to see Tower Gardens and this garden table restaurant at AT&T Park in California, Hunter Pace is a Major League Baseball player who really understands food as fuel, and how we have to start educating people on how that athletes really need to fuel at a higher level if they want the engines to run properly. So he's introduced and brought Tower Gardens into a Major League Baseball stadium, and he has towers and all of the greens used for their salads and whatever it is that they're eating at this park. So if someone can start this trend, then this can happen everywhere. And it's just a really hopeful image of what's to be in the future. If you haven't heard of Stephen Ritz and the Green Bronx Machine, just Google him and you'll learn all about how this one individual has completely changed the infrastructure of a school in the South Bronx. So what Tower Gardens are doing for individuals in terms of growing your own and having control over your own pesticide-free, more nutritious food and helping with sustainability, what it's doing in classrooms from a science, technology, education, nutrition standpoint, and even the sustainability movement for children to understand. I have about 19 towers in my community now, in schools in my community, and kids are learning what kale tastes like and that lettuce has a smell. And they're understanding that bok choy is spicy. And I've had parents come up to me and say, my child never ate anything green before they planted their own. And one of the things that we know to be true is kids that grow their own food will eat it. And that's true with my son, who was one of the world's pickiest eaters and still to this day will not eat a salad, but he will eat off the Tower Garden. So Stephen Ritz has done an amazing job. And this is another beautiful image of what he's doing, not only sustainability-wise for the earth, he's allowing people that would not normally have their hands on clean, whole food to be able to have access to it. But he's also introducing this into the community as a culinary option. So these kids are now learning trades and they're able to grow their own produce and make pesto with the basil and share that with their communities. And one of the biggest things that's happened in his school is the attendance rate has gone up. So now he has children not only coming to school happily, but they're graduating with great grades. This is an image of one of the Tower Gardens that's in one of the school communities in North Attleboro, Mass. And the school system is absolutely loving towers. These kids are growing their own produce. And as you can see, they're filling up the stainless steel bin and they're taking those greens to the cafeteria so they can eat them. Now, what if you were able to go back in time and send your children to a nursery school or a preschool where they were able to grow and learn how to understand where food comes from as a learning experience? And this is another image of a school that's taking on the education of seed to plate in a nursery school. Restaurants are now implementing Tower Gardens around the country. This is a particular restaurant that you can sit by and see the Tower Gardens. There is a Tower Garden farm on a roof in New York City called Bell Book and Candle is the restaurant. And all of the Tower Garden produce in the summer is sustaining the restaurant below. So this is really taking off in terms of the sustainability movement in urban areas. And one of the things that's happening is utilizing the space on roofs of restaurants is that it's bringing bees back. So people are seeing the bees coming back in. They have a reason to come and pollinate flowers. And that's just an incredible thing to be seeing. You don't have to worry about, this is Bell Book and Candle. You don't have to worry about pesticides on the produce hurting the bees. And the tarp that's on the roof of this restaurant is actually causing the air conditioning bills and the heating bills of this building more reasonable in terms of financial costs, because it's actually insulating the building at the top. So people are having success with their air conditioning bill. So if you think about all of the elements that are happening here on the roof, number one, it's a roof. The water's being recycled. It's bringing bees back. You're not having to ship and bring all this produce into New York City. You're growing it on your own. It's recyclable, and you have a variety of plants at your fingertips. This is a great image of a Tower Garden farm in O'Hare Airport, and all of these plants are sustaining the restaurants within the airport. And it's so ironic because you're looking out at all these planes flying, but none of those planes are being used to ship in that produce, which is pretty exciting. And there was one of the world's first farmers markets in O'Hare Airport with the produce from these Tower Gardens at this Tower Garden farm. And this is just an image of what Tower Gardens can do for communities. This is a place where veterans are growing produce and they're really engaging in their community and after they've come home from the war and using this as therapy. And just another image of that would be community centers, senior centers, hospitals, And just having the ability to be able to come together in this way and offer hope to some people who need it. This is an image of my tower garden that I've had in the winter, dead of winter. You can't see out the window there, but there was probably 4 feet of snow on the ground at the time. And I was growing my greens and eating them while there was a snowstorm outside, which is so exciting. And tower gardens, if you're living on the water, obviously there's sand and a beach, so you can't plant your greens there, but you can have a tower garden on your back deck. We also have a microgreen extension kit. So that's something that's new that we've added as well. And people love the idea of being able to plant their microgreens in addition to their produce. On a larger scale, this is a tower farm in Hawaii. And you really can take it, if you love the idea of farming and not having to deplete the soil, this is just an answer to be able to use the space in a better way. This is just one example, and here's just a bigger image to show how big tower farms can be and how many mouths and families that this produce can feed at such a high level. So from one individual living in New York City all the way to my family and feeding families around the globe with these farms. What can you grow on a tower? Everything but root vegetables. So this is an image when you have yours outside, tomatoes, cucumbers, squash. Indoors, I like to grow my greens year round, and you can even work on that you want to take on. And this is a great image, and I'm just going to leave it here before I hand it over to Sue Pierce. But if you're thinking about traveling and going on the road, this is an example of how portable towers are. This RV is obviously on a road trip, but they have their tower with them, and they just put it together outside their RV, and they're able to have their own garden. So it's very portable, transportable, and this is a perfect segue to Sue Pierce, who has her own system of transporting the tower garden into her community and how she's doing that. So I am going to turn it over to Sue, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about the tower and show you her live one in her house and a little bit more about what she's doing about getting them into communities. Sue, take it away.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. Can you hear me, Andrea?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Sue Pierce. The interesting thing about Tim Blank developing this tower garden is my very first trip to Disney World. I remember going through the land. At the time I was 17 years old, and I did not eat any green vegetables. Not until I was about 21 years old did I try my first green vegetable, because I was that picky. You can hear my tower garden kicking on. So it was really, really an extraordinary full circle moment when Andrea introduced me to Juice Plus, and when a few days later I found out that Tower Garden was part of our product line, I was through the roof excited. So from a teacher's point of view, I taught science for 15 years. And in those 15 years, there were a few times that, I contemplated growing with kids. The problem was a lot of times those gardens will be started towards the end of the school year, and they need to be taken care of over the summer. So unfortunately, it's not the most ideal situation. But with the tower gardens, they are so ridiculously easy to use. My son, when we first got ours, he was 8, and he has he's now 12. He has since put together about, I want to say 5 or 6 tower gardens he's put together himself. So that shows you how easy it is. So teachers a lot of times will have, everything new that comes down the pipeline that administration tells us that we need to do for the upcoming school year. And it can be really, really difficult because you spend all of this time learning about things and implementing, and then it seems that the following year just gets dropped for the latest and greatest, the new thing. The greatest thing about tower gardens is how incredibly easy to use they are. So it's not something that's going to put more work on a teacher's plate. It's going to enhance what teachers are already doing. Very, very student driven, so easy to take care of. I had a little 6-year-old girl. I brought my Tower Garden to an event, and a 6-year-old girl came over, and she was just absolutely in awe. And as she was looking at the tower, she asked me what I was doing when I was putting the nutrients in and checking the pH. She did it all. Six years old. I led her through it. She did the whole thing by herself, obviously with my supervision, but it was the first time she had ever laid eyes on a Tower Garden. And within those first 10 minutes, she was already taking care of it. So it really sparks a lot of curiosity and engagement. Kids can be in charge. It's easy to harvest. It's easy to add the nutrients. It's easy to balance the pH. It's such a great opportunity to teach about sustainability, nutrition, innovation, growth, problem solving. This is really a solutions-based project that you could bring into the classroom. There's also a STEM curriculum, which is pretty extraordinary. And honestly, this can be incorporated into any curriculum. You know, students, I've had teachers who have told me their students love to sit next to the tower and to read because they find the water very, very calming. So where Andrea was saying pets tend to be deterred from the water running, kids tend to be drawn to the water running. Instead of it being a distraction for them, it's very calming for them, which is really something that I know I would have loved in the classroom, to have something that would calm some of my kids down, but get them excited in all the right ways. So Andrea mentioned a little bit about Stephen Ritz. I just want to add to that, that when you listen to him speak about what Tower Gardens and growing has done for the kids of the South Bronx, and not just the kids, the teachers, the community, the families, attendance has skyrocketed. Kids are so excited to go to school, and they're so excited to learn. It's very student, family, and community oriented. The engagement between students, families, and the community has skyrocketed. Graduation rates have skyrocketed. This is really something that really has to be duplicated all over the place, because it's working. And when something's working in education, and it's something besides sitting down and filling in little bubbles on a standardized test, it's really important. Our teachers have never had a moment in time that they've been more stressed than now. And this is something that could really bring excitement and a love of learning and creativity to a classroom. So with that being said, I'm going to show you my Tower Garden. So let me see if I can switch this around so I can show you. So this is my tower. This kale right here, let's see, can't see on my little screen. So this kale right here is just a week old. And within 3 weeks, this will be big enough to eat. This is Swiss chard. I have all sorts of, this lettuce is only 2 weeks old. So, I mean, that's how fast it grows. I'll be eating that in another week or so. So essentially what you do is you grow the seeds here in the rock wool. You can see all my arugula has already sprouted. This will go into the Tower Garden, these little pods that are made of volcanic ash in rock wool. So there's no soil. So that is really, you know, it's quick, it's easy, and it's really, really exciting. So the fact that this could be implemented into classrooms very quickly and very easily is something that's very exciting. And with that, I will hand it back to Andrea. Oh, Andrea, you're muted. You're still muted.
Okay. Okay, good. I wasn't allowing me to mute. Sue, I just want you to say quickly before we wrap up the call that you have TIM, which is a Tower in Motion.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to just share your last event, where you went and what happened when you went there.
Sure. So I have two travel towers. They're the same size as a regular tower. They're called TIM and T2. TIM is obviously named after Tim Blank. It stands for Tower in Motion. So I bring the tower to schools and nursing homes and fire stations, anyone who wants to experience it. And so that you get the feel and the taste and get to actually experience being around the tower, which is absolutely amazing. So we just did, are you talking about the corporate event?
Yes.
Okay. So we just did a corporate event. Julie Dyer and myself, Julie is a chef. So we went in and educated a corporate wellness event, and we did tower to table and basically just made a whole bunch of really healthy recipes with things that you can grow on the tower garden. And it was pretty spectacular. People were really, really surprised, not only what you could grow, but the taste. You hear from a lot of people, they'll say, oh, I've tasted a hydroponic and it doesn't really have a taste. This is different. This is aeroponic, and the nutrient solution that we put into the tower garden to feed the plants has the same nutrient density of the richest soil you could find. So the taste of the tower garden produce is just absolutely incredible. So yeah, I love bringing it around to for people to see it and experience it and taste it.
Well, I love that event. I love that you took that on. Thank you, Sue, so much for sharing tonight. And I don't know if any of you know this, but Google just announced and brought Tower Gardens into their cafeteria because people are understanding what food means for health and wellness, and to be able to allow that type of produce into a cafeteria in a corporate setting. It's just taking off in different ways, and you are pioneering that in your community. So thank you for speaking tonight. And I would just like to end the call tonight by saying thank you all for joining us on this Tuesday evening. And if you like what you heard tonight and you want to be part of this mission, we need more boots on the ground. And when you heard those statistics that I shared earlier tonight, there's nothing that gets me more fired up than trying to give back and making sure that we leave something for future generations, so that children in the future won't have to worry about where their food's coming from. They'll have an abundance of it, and it'll be used in a way that they'll be nourished as well, by helping not only to nourish them at the cellular level, but also to be able to nourish the earth and just not have to worry so much about what's happening, but just having an abundance. And that's what we all want. We want abundance and we want vitality, but it's going to take a team, and we have this amazing team here we've started with, but we definitely need more voices. So please reach out to the person who invited you onto this call if you'd like to hear more about partnering with us. Have a great evening, everybody.